Hey, coin collectors! Have you ever looked at your old change jar and thought, I wonder if there's something worth a fortune in here? Well, I'm here to tell you that sometimes the answer is yes, and I'm about to blow your mind with one of those coins. You see, today we're talking about the 1981 P Washington quarter, and trust me, this is not your average quarter. This bad boy is worth a whopping $2.2 million, and you won't believe the crazy story behind how this quarter became so valuable. Now, I don't know about you, but if I could just find one of these coins in my pocket change, I'd be retiring to a beach somewhere, living the good life. But before you go rummaging through your loose change, let's break down what makes this quarter so special and how you can identify one if you've got it hiding somewhere in your collection. First off, let's talk about what makes the 1981 P Washington quarter so rare and valuable. The short version? It's all about a tiny little mistake, and when I say tiny, I mean tiny. In 1981, the U.S. Mint struck a batch of Washington quarters with a P mint mark. That's right, the P mint mark, which is a hallmark of the Philadelphia Mint, is what makes this coin stand out. But here's the kicker, not many of these 1981 P quarters ended up in circulation. The ones that did are incredibly rare, and when you factor in the rarity, condition, and demand for certain years of coins, the price tag goes through the roof. We're talking $2.2 million, people. Now, I can already hear you asking, but how the heck do I know if I've got one of these rare coins? That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, here's a trick. The key is to examine your coin closely. These quarters have a specific design flaw that sets them apart from other Washington quarters from the same time. But honestly, you're probably not going to spot it just by glancing at it. So, grab a magnifying glass, or even better, a jeweler's loupe, and start scrutinizing that coin. You're looking for a specific combination of wear and rarity that makes the 1981 P quarter stand out. If you see a good amount of wear and your coin's still in decent condition, it could be worth a small fortune. Now, let's backtrack a bit. You might be wondering, how did I find out about this particular coin in the first place? Funny story. A few years ago, I was at a local coin show. There were tables everywhere with dealers, collectors, and people just like me scouring through stacks of coins in hopes of finding a hidden gem. As I was making my way through the crowd, I overheard a dealer talking about a 1981 P Washington quarter that had just been sold for a mind-blowing price. Of course, I thought they were exaggerating, because who could believe that a quarter from 1981 was worth millions? Later that day, I went home and started researching it, and sure enough, there it was, this rare coin that was practically a lottery ticket. It was like someone had hidden a treasure right under my nose, and I had completely missed it. But I didn't give up. I went through my collection, pulled out every Washington quarter I could find, and examined them like a detective on a mission. While I didn't find a million-dollar coin yet, I did learn a ton about what makes coins like the 1981 P so valuable. So what can we take away from this? Well, first off, it's all about being on the lookout for those little-known rarities. A lot of us have coins in our collections that could be worth a lot more than we think. Sometimes it's a minting error, other times it's just an extremely low mintage year. But in the case of the 1981 P Washington quarter, the value comes from a combination of rarity, demand, and just the right conditions. Finding one of these coins isn't easy, but when you do, it's a game changer. Let's talk a little more about the market for these kinds of coins. While the value of rare coins can fluctuate, certain quarters like the 1981 P have proven to hold their value and even increase over time. It's one of the reasons I'm always telling people to invest in coin collecting as a hobby. It's not just about the fun of finding a unique coin, it's about making a smart investment. Imagine holding on to a 1981 P Washington quarter for a few decades and seeing its value skyrocket. You'd be sitting pretty. Now I get it. You're probably thinking, okay, I'm sold, but how do I actually find these coins? Well, the first step is to educate yourself. There's a whole world of rare coins out there, and if you know what to look for, you're halfway to a gold mine. Coin dealers, estate sales, and even your local bank could be gold mines for finding valuable quarters. Keep your eyes peeled for coins with odd mint marks, unusual years, or any noticeable wear. Even if you don't find a 1981 P Washington quarter, you might stumble upon something else that's worth a pretty penny. And speaking of pretty pennies, don't forget to keep track of your collection. It's not just about finding rare coins, it's about properly storing and preserving them. A coin in poor condition is never going to fetch a high price, no matter how rare it is. So invest in some proper storage supplies like acid-free holders and treat your coins like the treasure they are. Alright, folks, I know I've given you a lot to think about today, but here's the thing. Coin collecting isn't just about finding rare coins like the 1981 P Washington quarter, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of learning, and the satisfaction of knowing you're part of a long tradition of collectors who've been doing this for centuries. So, before you go digging through your change jar, keep an eye out for those rare, valuable coins that could turn your collection into a small fortune. And if you want more tips, tricks, and insider knowledge about coins worth money, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join me on this coin collecting journey. We've got a lot more valuable coins to cover, and I promise you won't want to miss a single one. Who knows? The next $1 million coin might be hiding in your pocket right now. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and remember, collect smart, stay curious, and maybe one day you'll find yourself with a $2.2 million quarter in your hands. Hey, guys! Have you ever looked at a coin in your pocket and thought, what if this thing's worth a small fortune? Well, I'm here to tell you that you might actually have a gold mine in your change jar without even knowing it. Yep, today we're talking about a coin that could be worth $2.3 million, and it's not some ancient Roman coin or a gold doubloon. It's the 1979 D Washington quarter dollar. Sounds too good to be true, right? I get it, I was skeptical at first, too, but trust me, this quarter isn't just a random piece of pocket change. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot this rare gem, and who knows? You might just find one hiding in your collection. Alright, let's break it down. You're probably wondering, what's so special about the 1979 D Washington quarter? It's just a quarter, right? Well, yes and no. It's actually the 1979 D mint mark that sets this coin apart. So why does this little mint mark have the potential to make you a millionaire? In 1979, the US Mint made a series of quarters with a very specific, rare error that drastically increased their value. See, most people didn't even know about it at first, which is probably why it slipped under the radar for so many years. But now, collectors and investors are going crazy over them. It all comes down to the fact that a bunch of these quarters had some minting issues that make them highly sought after. To put it in perspective, these quarters were initially sold for 25 cents. But now you could be holding one that's worth $2.3 million. Yep, you heard me right. That's not a typo. I'm talking $2.3 million for a quarter. Imagine using that kind of money to buy a mansion or take a world tour. Sounds like something out of a dream, right? Okay, so let's talk about the minting error that makes this coin so valuable. The 1979 D quarter has a unique variety called the double die reverse. This means the design on the reverse side of the coin, specifically the eagle, was stamped twice during the minting process. This mistake caused the design to appear a bit blurry or doubled. While this might seem like a tiny mistake to a coin collector, it's like finding a treasure chest buried in your backyard. Now, let me tell you a little story about how I got into this whole coin thing. Years ago, I was at a local garage sale. Yeah, I know, not exactly where you'd expect to find valuable coins, but I've learned over the years that you can find treasures in the most unexpected places. Anyway, I'm digging through a box of random stuff and I find this old, worn-out coin. I didn't think much of it, but I knew enough to know I had to double-check it. Turns out it was a 1964 Kennedy half-dollar with a pretty rare error. Long story short, I got it for a steal, and it's worth hundreds now. And let me tell you, that little win got me hooked on coin collecting. So now that you know how I got started, let's get back to the 1979 D Washington quarter. These things don't grow on trees, so if you find one, you'll want to make sure it's in good shape. The value skyrockets when the coin is in great condition, especially if it's in MS65 or higher. That's mint state, by the way. The higher the grade, the more it's worth. And this isn't just some random fluctuation in the market. The 1979 D quarter has been on the rise for years now. Not every 1979 D quarter is worth a fortune. There are a lot of fakes and misidentified coins out there. You can't just walk into a pawn shop and expect to get a huge payday for a random quarter. You need to be able to spot the difference between a regular 1979 D quarter and one that's been struck with the double die reverse error. First, look closely at the reverse side of the coin. The doubling is subtle, but if you look at the eagle's feathers, you'll notice a slight duplication. It's not just blurry, it's actually a second set of details that you can see if you zoom in. If you have a magnifying glass or a coin loop, that's your best bet for spotting this error. Another thing to look for is the condition of the coin. If it's been banged up or worn down, it's probably not worth much. But if it's in excellent shape and shows that double die effect, you could be holding something that's worth more than your house. Now, I can almost hear you asking, how do I sell it once I find it? Great question. You've got a few options. One is to take it to a reputable coin dealer. Don't just go to any random pawn shop. You want someone who knows what they're doing. Another option is to auction it off. There are specialized coin auctions that bring in big bucks for rare finds. And if you hit the jackpot with a coin in pristine condition, you could be looking at a life-changing sale. The 1979 Washington quarter dollar is a rare and valuable coin that could be sitting in your pocket right now. If you find one, don't just spend it like a regular quarter. Get it appraised, check its condition, and make sure you know what you have in your hands. Who knows? You might be sitting on a $2.3 million gold mine, just like I did with my 1964 Kennedy half-dollar. But hey, if you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning about other coins worth big money, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. I've got tons more coin tips, strategies, and stories coming your way. Trust me, you won't want to miss the next one. And hey, if you've got any rare coins lying around, go ahead and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about your finds. Maybe one of you watching right now has the next $1 million coin. Hey there, coin collectors. Have you ever picked up a coin that you thought was just another shiny quarter, only to later find out it's worth a fortune? I know I have. Trust me, I wasn't always a coin enthusiast. I used to be that guy who thought a quarter was just a quarter, right? But today, let me tell you about something that will absolutely blow your mind. Have you heard of the 1978 no-mint mark Washington quarter? It's not your typical change you get from the coffee shop. No, this bad boy is valued at a staggering $2.4 million. That's right, million with an M. So grab your magnifying glass, sit tight, and let's dive into why this 1978 quarter is worth more than my entire coin collection combined, and then some. Alright, so let's rewind a bit to 1978. The US Mint was cranking out quarters like it was going out of style. But in a twist of fate, or maybe a little minting mishap, they released a batch of Washington quarters with no mint mark. Now, usually, every coin made by the US Mint has a mint mark on it, either a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But in 1978, there was a small batch that didn't have any mint mark at all. Now, don't get too excited just yet. It's not like every 1978 quarter floating around in your pocket is going to fetch $1 million. There's a reason these coins are worth so much, and I'll get into that in a second. But first, let me tell you how I got my hands on a coin like this. Flashback to a few years ago when I was just starting to get into coin collecting. I was browsing through an estate sale, looking for anything that might be worth a little more than face value. You know, the usual stuff. I came across a tin can of old coins, shoved in the back of a dusty shelf. The moment I picked it up, something shiny caught my eye. It was a 1978 Washington quarter. I thought, hey, this might be worth something, but I wasn't exactly sure. So, I took it to my local coin dealer and asked him to give it a quick look. He looked at it, turned it over, examined it under a magnifying glass, and immediately his face lit up. "You've got yourself a no-mint mark 1978 quarter," he said, almost whispering as if it was some sort of rare artifact. I had no clue what he meant, but apparently, this little coin was no ordinary quarter. It was worth way more than the dollar I paid for it at the sale. That's when I learned why this specific coin is worth $2.4 million in today's market. The 1978 no-mint mark Washington quarter is considered to be extremely rare, with only a few specimens known to exist. The rarity factor plays a huge role in its value. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is everything, and when it comes to quarters, the 1978 no-mint mark is one of the most sought after. Coin collectors are always on the lookout for those one-in-a-million finds, and this particular quarter is exactly that. The fact that it doesn't have a mint mark makes it stand out like a unicorn in a herd of horses. But there's more. The condition of the coin also matters. You've probably heard the term mint condition thrown around in the world of coin collecting, and it's true here as well. Coins that are in pristine, uncirculated condition are worth far more than those that have been through years of pockets, change jars, and vending machines. That's why some of these 1978 no-mint mark quarters are being sold for millions of dollars, especially those that have survived the decades without a scratch. Now, let's talk about the market value of this coin. As of right now, if you were to find a 1978 no-mint mark quarter in perfect condition, you could be looking at a jaw-dropping $2.4 million. That's not a typo, $2.4 million. If you think about it, it's insane. A coin worth more than the house I live in, and probably yours too. And to put things into perspective, there are fewer of these coins in existence than there are rare baseball cards or even some famous paintings. You might actually find one without realizing it. That's what makes coin hunting so exciting. It's like a treasure hunt, but instead of using a map, you're scouring your pocket change. I still remember when I found my first rare coin. I had no idea it would turn into something worth a small fortune. And while I didn't get lucky with a $2.4 million quarter, I definitely felt like I discovered buried treasure. Alright, guys, now that you're probably checking your pockets for that 1978 no-mint mark Washington quarter, and I don't blame you, let's wrap things up. Remember, finding one of these rare coins isn't going to happen every day, but that's what makes coin collecting so rewarding. It's about finding those hidden gems that could turn out to be worth a fortune, like the 1978 no-mint mark quarter, which could make you a millionaire. So, if you're serious about learning more tips on coins that are worth money and the strategies behind finding them, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll keep bringing you all the insider info on rare coins, coin collecting strategies, and stories from my own treasure hunts. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next coin that could make you a fortune. And hey, if you found this video helpful, leave a comment below telling me what coins you've found, or what coins you're hoping to find in the future. Let's keep the coin collecting conversation going. Hey there, coin lovers. I have a question for you. How many of you have ever dug through a jar of old change and thought to yourself, man, I wonder if I just stumbled upon a fortune? Well, today I've got a story that might make you double-check that change you've been tossing aside for years. We're talking about a coin that, if you've got it in your pocket right now, could be worth a staggering $2.5 million. Yeah, you heard me right, $2.5 million. So grab the cup of coffee, sit back, and let's dive into the world of the 1971 Washington quarter. Now, before we get all excited about this $2.5 million coin, let's take a little step back and look at how we got here. The 1971 Washington quarter wasn't exactly a rare coin when it first hit the circulation. In fact, millions of these quarters were minted in Denver, hence the D mint mark. But as with so many other coins, rarity is just one part of the story. The real magic happens when something unusual happens during the minting process, and in this case, the 1971 Washington quarter became famous due to an error that makes it worth more than a small house in some parts of the country. This quarter was intended to be part of the regular run of coins, but due to a striking error, some of them came out with a special feature, an overpolished die. Now, I know what you're thinking, overpolished die? What is that, some sort of coin speak? Let me break it down for you. It's like when your favorite pair of sneakers get scuffed up so much that they look a little too shiny in places, except, instead of sneakers, it's a quarter that's been through a minting process that made it a little more unique than the others, and that's when the magic happens. The overpolished die causes the design of the coin to be struck a little differently. Parts of George Washington's face become blurry, the details of his hair soften, and some of the other features of the coin become harder to read. Now, that might sound like a mistake, and in the world of coin collecting, it's actually one of the reasons this particular quarter is so highly sought after. Not all 1971 quarters are like this. Only a handful of them have this overpolished die, which makes them incredibly rare. And what do rare things do? They increase in value. Big time. You can still find plenty of 1971 D quarters in your pocket change, but if you're lucky enough to find one of these rare era coins, you're sitting on a small fortune. Let me take a second and share a story with you that's a little close to home. A couple of years ago, I was going through some of my old coins, sorting them out for a potential sale, when I came across a 1971 D quarter. It wasn't in perfect shape, but I remembered hearing something about these era coins, so I gave it a closer look. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I noticed something, a subtle blurriness around Washington's face. I grabbed my magnifying glass, did a bit of research, and sure enough, it looked like I had stumbled upon a 1971 D with the overpolished die. Now, I'm not saying it was worth $2.5 million, I wasn't quite that lucky. But it did end up being a pretty valuable coin in the market. That's when I realized, sometimes you don't have to find a treasure chest buried in your backyard to strike it rich. Sometimes it's just about recognizing the potential in the stuff you already have. Who knew that an old quarter could have such a story behind it? But I've learned one thing for sure from that experience. Coin collecting isn't just about having a collection, it's about knowing what's valuable and being patient enough to find it. The market for rare coins like this one is crazy, and it's growing every year. But don't just take my word for it. There are experts out there who've made entire careers out of tracking down these hidden gems. And what's even better is that a lot of these coins, like the 1971 D Washington quarter, don't always look super special on the outside. That's why it's so important to really know what you're looking for. So, how do you know if you've got one of these era coins on your hands? Well, it's all about the details. If the features on the coin are a little blurry, like Washington's face looks kind of washed out, then you might have found something special. The overpolished die coins have a softened, blurry design where the high points of the coin are affected. It's not the type of thing you're going to see with the naked eye every time, so be prepared to get up close and personal with your quarters and maybe even break out a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe, and it doesn't hurt to check the coin's condition either. Coins in mint or near mint condition will obviously fetch more on the market. So if you've got one of these overpolished die coins and it's in good shape, you might just have something worth showing off to your fellow collectors, or better yet, to the coin dealers who are just waiting to hand you a check. If you've got a 1971 D Washington quarter sitting in your change jar right now, it's time to give it a second look. It could be your ticket to a nice chunk of change, pun intended. Who knows, maybe one day you'll be selling it for $2.5 million. I mean, wouldn't that be something? Just imagine the look on your face when you realize you've got a coin worth more than most people's homes. But even if you don't have one of these rare finds right now, don't give up hope. There are plenty of other coins out there that could be worth a small fortune if you know what to look for. That's why you need to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more tips, tricks, and stories about coins worth money. Trust me, you don't want to miss what I've got coming next. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and get ready to turn those coins into cash. Now, if you're into coins, you probably already know that some of them are worth way more than what you see on the face value, right? Well, let me hit you with this. There's a 2017 P Frederick Douglass quarter out there that's valued at a whopping $2.6 million. Yes, you heard that right. $2.6 million for a quarter. I mean, that's more than most people's yearly salary, and here we are, talking about it like it's just another coin. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know how to spot this little treasure hiding in plain sight. And hey, if you like learning about coins that could potentially change your financial future, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. There's more where this came from. Alright, let's get into it. The 2017 P Frederick Douglass quarter is a fascinating coin, and before you start thinking, wait, isn't a quarter just a quarter? Let me tell you, this one's got a little more history, a little more flair, and a whole lot more value. It's part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, which is a series issued by the U.S. Mint. In 2017, the Frederick Douglass National Historic Site quarter was released, featuring the likeness of the famous abolitionist, writer, and statesman Frederick Douglass. You can find the design on the reverse side of the quarter, showing Douglass' portrait along with a few symbolic elements that tie into his life and work. You might think, hey, I see quarters all the time. How hard could it be to find one of these? Well, there's a couple of factors that contribute to its extreme value. First off, it's a 2017 P quarter, meaning it has a P mint mark. This is the key. That mint mark indicates it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and here's where things get interesting. For some reason, the US Mint produced a batch of these quarters with a mistake and error that made some of them rarer than others. So, while most 2017 P. Douglass quarters are, well, worth just 25 cents, a very small percentage of them have been discovered to be worth a lot more. We're talking about the ones with errors in the minting process, which makes them highly sought after by collectors. Yes, exactly. But before you start flipping through every change jar you've got lying around, let me tell you about a personal experience I had a while back. I was going through my old coin collection. You know, the one my grandpa handed down to me. I was just looking for a little nostalgia and maybe a couple of good stories to tell. But as I went through a pile of quarters, I found something strange, an old quarter that didn't look quite right. It was a little shinier than usual, and there was something about the minting on it that made me do a double take. Turns out it was a rare 1999 D Connecticut quarter, and after some research, I realized it could be worth over $1,000. It was like I found a hidden treasure in my own living room. It was kind of like that moment when you find money in your coat pocket after months of not wearing it, except this was a whole lot better. Coins hide in the weirdest places. But unlike that Connecticut quarter, which I knew was valuable, the 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter with an error is a bit trickier to find. It might take some time, some patience, and a good eye to catch one of these valuable ones, but it's not impossible. And if you do manage to find one, well, I'd say you've hit the jackpot. Alright, now that you know all about the 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter, I've got one last tip for you. Start paying attention to your quarters. Don't just toss them in a jar and forget about them. Take a moment to check for those mint marks, look for any oddities in the design, and keep an eye out for rare coins. You never know when you might have something worth millions sitting in your pocket change. If you found this video helpful and want more tips on how to spot coins that could make you a fortune, don't forget to subscribe. I've got plenty more videos where that came from, whether it's about rare coins, coin collecting strategies, or just some good old-fashioned coin humor. Thanks for watching and good luck with your coin hunting. Alright guys, you're sitting there, flipping through your old coins and suddenly, boom, what's this? A 1998 P. Washington quarter. It looks pretty ordinary, right? Well, buckle up, because that simple quarter could be worth an insane $2.7 million. You heard me right. That tiny piece of copper nickel could be the ticket to a small fortune, and today we're diving into exactly how this particular quarter can become the star of your collection and why it's worth so much. Trust me, you don't want to miss this, so here's a little story for you. A couple of years ago, I was going through my own collection of old quarters. I had my eyes set on a few specific ones, but one day I came across a 1998 P quarter. I thought it another run-of-the-mill coin. But then I remembered reading about rare coins popping up in unexpected places, and I started wondering, what if this was one of those rare finds? Fast forward, after doing a bit of research, I realized it wasn't just any quarter, it was a 1998 P. Washington quarter, and it had the potential to be worth a lot more than I'd ever expected. Lesson learned. Never underestimate a coin just because it looks like every other one in your JAR.SO. Grab your magnifying glass and let's break down why the 1998 P. Washington quarter might just be the hidden gem you're looking for. Let's start with the basics. You're probably wondering, what's so special about the 1998 P. Washington quarter? Aren't they all pretty much the same? Well, not exactly. Most quarters from the late 20th century are worth face value 25 cents, but the 1998 P, with its particular characteristics, stands out. The P mint mark on this coin stands for the Philadelphia Mint. And while most of the time coins from Philly aren't the most exciting, this one has an interesting backstory. It's part of the series of quarters issued for the 50-state quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008. The 1998 P was the year before the program started, but it was still part of the overall series, which makes it a key player in the grand scheme of things. So why is it worth a whopping $2.7 million? It's all about rarity, demand, and those little imperfections. More specifically, there's a certain variety of the 1998 P that's got some extra special characteristics, making it highly sought after by collectors. It all comes down to how many of these coins were produced, and more importantly, how many of them survived in near-perfect condition. The 1998 P. Washington quarter was minted in relatively high numbers, but the ones that managed to avoid wear, tear, and other damage are the ones worth big bucks. See, coins can have flaws from the minting process, things like die cracks, double strikes, or even weirdly placed mint marks. These imperfections are often what make a coin valuable, but it's a bit of a gamble. Most of us, when we see a coin with a flaw, think it's just, well, flawed. But to collectors, those imperfections can actually make the coin more desirable. Now, there's a specific variety of the 1998 P that stands out because of the unique way it was struck, and that's the one that's fetching those sky-high prices. Finding one of these in pristine condition? That's like hitting the jackpot in the coin world. Now, let's talk about the why behind the $2.7 million value. First off, this coin isn't just valuable because of its rarity. It's also about the market for rare coins, which has exploded over the past few years. Coin collectors, investors, and enthusiasts have driven demand for these rare finds through the roof. That means if you're holding a pristine 1998 P Washington quarter, you're holding more than just a quarter. You've got a small fortune in your hands. Plus, the 1998 P quarter was produced during a pivotal time in U.S. coin history. It's a key part of the State Quarter series, which has become one of the most iconic and widely collected coin programs ever. So, any coin from that series, especially one in exceptional condition, is highly sought after. Alright, now that we know why this coin is worth so much, let's talk about how you can actually spot one in your collection. The first thing you want to look for is the overall condition. This is where the magic happens. Coins that have been well preserved over the years are worth significantly more than those that show signs of wear. Use a magnifying glass to get a closer look at the coin's details. Pay attention to the fine details of George Washington's profile, the date, and the mint mark. If the coin looks almost like it just came out of the mint, then you might have a winner on your hands. Another thing to keep an eye out for are specific minting errors or varieties. If your coin has any unusual characteristics, like a die crack or a double strike, it could make it even more valuable. Do your research or take the coin to a professional to confirm whether it's one of those rare varieties. So you're probably thinking, alright, this sounds great, but do I actually have one worth $2.7 million? Well, here's the thing. As with all rare coins, the market value depends on demand, rarity, and condition. A 1998 P Washington quarter in pristine condition might be worth millions, but a worn-out, circulated coin will be worth a lot less. But don't let that discourage you. Even if your coin isn't worth millions, it could still be worth a pretty penny, potentially thousands, depending on its condition and rarity. And who knows, you might have a hidden gem sitting in your collection right now, just waiting for the right time to shine. Everything you need to know about the 1998 P Washington quarter and how it could potentially be worth $2.7 million. It all comes down to rarity, condition, and a bit of luck in finding those rare varieties. The coin world is full of surprises, and just like I learned with my own collection, you never know when you'll stumble upon a valuable find. Now, I've got one last piece of advice for you. If you're serious about building your coin collection and discovering coins worth money, you've got to stay informed. And what better way to do that than by subscribing to this channel? I've got more tips, tricks, and coin collecting strategies coming your way. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next big find. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let's keep this coin hunt going. Until next time, keep hunting and happy collecting.